What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Huddle, your weekly playbook helping you gain forward progress in your career. Simply put, we're here to help you win. With me, as always, Mr. Daniel and Jose Gonzalez. Although mobile, they're with us. What's up, fellas?
How's it going? I think this dude lost
Going on, brother?
connection
I,
because if you don't put it on
No,
do not disturb, it loses your camera.
ah,
Oh, there we go.
no, I was sharing it on socials.
all right. Share away. Well, I think Daniel's out kid collecting and Jose's trying to fix a vehicle. So you got me in studio and our two podcast hosts extraordinaire on the road. They
It's
can
gonna be
do it
it's gonna be
anywhere.
flipping,
They're
brother.
so good they can do it
It's gonna
anywhere.
be flipping. I don't know.
All right. Well, we're gonna give a second for everybody to start joining. Reminder to everybody to like and subscribe on our socials and on our YouTube channel. We could use some love over there. This episode is sponsored by Shag Tools. We want to thank them and give them an extra special shout out for sponsoring this episode. And
Thank you, Shag Tools. We appreciate you.
yeah, we'll
You guys are gonna be able to hear me, but I gotta open up a door real quick. I'm sorry, I'm on the road.
fair enough. Well, today's episode is why organization can make or break your business. That's kind of a a very true statement. But I can't wait to hear your guys' take on this because I know you guys started a very similar to me, kind of just some flooring guys going out and starting a business and getting going, and then you learned how
Hmm.
important systems are and processes are, and that you cannot duplicate yourself. So I want to be clear. This is maybe a little more uh, on business, but it can also apply to your installation. One of the reasons when I was installing daily, I was considered fast and good. It had more to do with me organizing and setting up my job site than it had to do with me being faster at trowel and glue or cutting seams or heat welding. In fact, you can't really rush heat welding. It is going to go as fast as it's going to go. But it was all about the way I set a job up. And I know you're very similar to that and familiar with that too, Daniel. So this episode kind of, even though it's about business, and we'll all kind of chime in about that because I know we all learned some lessons that we're hoping to help you get maybe shortcut some of these things. So, what's happening?
Becoming
Tell me
more
something
efficient.
new. Yes,
So I
Daniel.
think when we're
Go ahead.
talking about it, it's just like looking back at the early days, it was a lot of it was, did I text this person? Did I email them? How did I even get a hold of them? And
Yeah,
then trying
just
to search for that means of information.
like just contact information, just keeping a contact list. Yeah. So when I first got started, I've told the story several times, but it's worth repeating. I just was a flooring guy, worked by the hour, decided to go start subbing, and I did a lot of the stuff right, most of it wrong, but get past all that stuff because we've done a lot of episodes about setting up your accounts and starting your business. And we're going to be doing a webinar series on a front to back on the four major parts of starting and building a successful flooring company from our years of experience. But we're also bringing in experts, everything from legal, which has to do with the setup of your business. So you set your company up the most advantageous way for yourself and to meet your goals. We got accounting, which is very important. That as you start making money, that you allocate it in the right areas and you track your expenses and how to do that, and some cool tools on that. Operations, how to actually run the business so that you can continue to grow and thrive, and then technical. So the actual kind of hand skills, must haves in the business. Some of it's going to be a little bit of business stuff, but also, technically, how do you set up a job? How do you do that kind of stuff? So we're going to be coming out with a webinar series on that. So keep an eye out. But one of the things that I learned quickly as I grew my business was I if I did something really good, but I did not like write it down or log it somewhere, it was never duplicatable. Like no one else could do it. And then I couldn't do it again in the future because I forgot how I did it so well. And so I wrote down one of my most important notes for this topic is systems, systems, systems. Oh,
Yeah, dude.
and procedures. I know you guys
Yes.
went through a lot of that stuff too. When was the first time you're like, okay, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna log how I went from A to B on whatever that was. Do you remember?
I don't even remember the first time we decided to do it. I think it was a little backwards, right? I think we come to the realization that we were missing um systems, right? Like, and then through the network of meeting other installers and going to other events and talking to people, realize that, yep, we didn't record anything that we probably should have. Like, you take it for granted, like, oh, I remember how to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
you teach it, and every time you teach it, you add a little something, you change it a little bit. So you're not only, you do know how to do it, but as you evolve, your teaching evolves, and next thing you know, you have 30 people that you've trained, and everybody knows how to do it a little bit different based off of your skill set at the time you taught them. Um, and I think,
Yeah, but even that's better than just like at least you have some confluence in the way you taught. When I first I'll get one of the big things that when this came to be like a major problem was my first when I first opened, I had a partner. Well, me and my partner ended up splitting, and he quit coming into the office. And I had no idea. I was the field guy. I set up the jobs, I ran the projects, I installed. I had no idea how to run payroll. I had no idea how to write a check.
yep,
I didn't know how to send a PO. I mean, I didn't know any of the office stuff. Well, all that could have been logged into today, and even probably then into an Excel spreadsheet. Today it can be on a Google spreadsheet, like Google Sheets, and just the process for how to run payroll. And we now have everything we do in some process sheet and then loaded into our training platform. That's you grow into some of that, but logging it doesn't. You can handwrite it on a piece of paper, put it in a file, and name it processes. That it can be that simple. But logging your process for doing things, so, no matter what it is, so that if you got sick, if like my example, my partner and I, we split. He didn't wish me to go out of business or anything, so he would have wanted me to know how to do the thing,
hmm
but didn't even think about that kind of stuff. We just did our jobs. We did them good. Did them, I would say, well. That's some bad vocabulary there, but we did them well. But it wasn't like we logged anything. And
you know,
organizing your processes in some type of form where somebody can go, oh, payroll, this is how I go into QuickBooks, log in, password, this, that, the other, boom, 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 and just be able to do the thing by following a step-by-step guideline.
so I will say that the first time that we realized that we were missing a lot of information was when we decided to go into sales, right? And start that portion. And Daniel put said, you're in the office full time now. And that is when we came to the realization that we were missing a lot. And especially when Daniel came in the office, started working more and more. Um, you know, Everybody knows Daniel's the tech guy. He knows how to do the computer stuff way better than I do, right? Um, but forcing myself to learn, we were missing a lot. And to be honest, I didn't realize how much we were missing until a good friend of ours happens to be on this podcast, allowed us to look at some of the documents that he has in place. And it's like, damn, we
So what
we're
was
definitely
it?
missing the time.
What specifically were you have an issue with? Like what was some give an example?
Just even basic simple stuff like you mentioned a purchase order. We didn't have any systems in place to duplicate it, to have a duplication of a standard purchase order. Daniel's would be different than mine. The way we submitted it to, if we submitted it to the same distributor or manufacturer, his would look different than mine. He'd format it differently. Things would look, depending on who was the first one to do it, it would look out of order if he or I did one to the next person. We're missing account information. Like we can send them a purchase order, but we don't include our account number. That we're not really giving them the information they need. Um, that's just a simple, little, easy one. I would
Yeah,
say, uh, down to the way we were submitting bids or proposals.
I would say if you're watching this, anything that you do every day or has a daily thing should be in a
Yep.
written down into a process and organized in a file, whether that's a digital file or a paper file. Loading out your trucks. We have processes now for everything. We have estimators checklists and how we get a bid invite. We have a system for how we qualify a bid, whether or not we should even look at it. We built a formula for that. And so you'll always do this and you'll always do it a little bit better and better. But I can tell you, our overhead versus revenue is so much better every time we get better at this part, meaning we need less people to do the same amount of work, or it's not like, you necessarily, you're able to do more with the same people is a better way to put that. And
And
Right.
more.
Well, I think that
Go ahead, Daniel.
the issue that we're running into is I started doing what you said, right? And then it's just some people are so literal with everything where it's like I make a how-to video and then they have to follow that how-to video and they're like, hey, I can't find this file. Okay, well, where'd you go? I went exactly where it told me on the how-to. Then it's like, dude, you have to go to the project that you're working on. You don't follow the same thing. You don't, it's, if you did that, it would be the same thing every single time, and that's just not how things work. So it's like, then it's like, now I got to go through and then put another description on there where it's like, do not go to this file, go to the job you're working on.
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably a little bit of, um, nothing solves everything, so you got a little extra training to do. But that thought process would be like, if you're telling somebody you have a written process to on how to cut carpet in, and you're like, okay, grab the carpet knife and you hold it at this angle, and
Yeah. Yes. Oh
and they
man.
drive to
Ah,
your house to grab your carpet knife. Now that's like the equivalent of what you just explained. Obviously, I'm saying go to
is
your carpet knife,
yeah.
or
As
if you,
bad as it
what's up,
sounds,
Jorge?
as bad as it sounds, y- some people just don't want to, or I don't know if they're incapable of or don't want to. But right, it's hard to cipher who's going to be able to do some of the troubleshooting on their own and figure out, all right, this is mine. This is where I got to start. And that's why you
Well,
hire
I
people with
can.
experience on certain things, especially with
Well, people
computer
who
literacy.
learn well. I mean, this is a different. different topic, but in the same vein. One of the things about hiring is hiring someone who learns well, who shows the ability and wants to learn.
Yeah.
That's more important to me than you knowing anything. As long as if you can convince me, if you want a job here, convince me that you learn well and that you can understand instruction. Like that to me is more important than anything else. And you can because sometimes with really experienced people, they can get used to doing it their way, and it's hard to reprogram. You're almost
Uh,
reprogramming them, or like when I what the tech lingo uh, for our application is refactoring. Well, sometimes it's easier to just tear it down and rebuild or build new. Um, that is one of them things, and it's that time of this podcast to bring up Shag Tools as our sponsor. We're going to play a quick short video here from Shag Tools. We want to thank those fellas for sponsoring the Huddle and bringing you guys great deals. Remember the promo code Huddle10. There's a quick note from our sponsor, Shag Tools. Remember promo code Huddle10. It's right under the checkout. When you go to checkout after you bought something, uh, that's where you got to click. It says, got a coupon, click here. That's where you click to enter Huddle10. Get 10% off your purchases at Shag Tools. All right. Well,
So
Rod brought
let's
up what
tackle this.
about individual job
Yeah.
descriptions? I'm not from a organization standpoint. We have the first part of our job descriptions. Almost all of them are the same. It's more company culture, talking about learning, talking about that stuff. The key points that you have to have, or the key skills you have to work at our company. Period. And then that specific job description, the skills that you need to do that, and what your actual daily description of work is. So, not sure if that is answering Rod's question or not, but that's kind of how we deal with it from an
May,
organization standpoint.
well, maybe like if you think about it in terms of on the installation side, where there's not a bunch of job descriptions. Everyone is just you're either it's installer or they call themselves mechanic or technician. It's like there's no standardized thing on the installation side, and that is pretty chaotic if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all understand the main words that we use. It's been one of those deals in our industry for a long time. What I call a high quality installer, and mechanic is the most used, mechanic and helper. It doesn't necessarily speak highly of the helper, at least, but that is kind of the um, Daniel gets it. He always does, Rod. Um, that is, you know, what we are starting to really leverage, frankly, is the skill score, and putting in there we're going to start this year with specific promotion tied to that score. Promotion to from subs in pay to in-house guys in salary or hourly pay, and um, but as far as what to call them, we still call them mechanics, uh, technicians sometimes, but technicians. I know that that's been discussed in pretty good detail over the years, but that's also what they call people who clean your carpet is floor techs, floor technicians. So I mean, it's hard to get there.
Apprentice, technician.
I think, yeah, Rod says that, job descriptions help to clarify expectations. And, he's right. But I think we're all just looking at you, Paul, to come up with some names and standardize this across the board.
Well, I I've come up with a score that can help standardize the levels, but effectively being a what's known in the industry right now as a one hammer guy, that's a proficient installer. Um, so detail, there's a difference in what we call them versus what they can actually do. Um, yeah, that's we'll have to keep our thinking caps on there, Daniel, for that one. But when he says job descriptions help clarify expectations, that's why the first part of ours is company expectations. I don't care if you're the CEO or you're an installer. We have the expectations of what we need you to do. We also have a company culture and expectation statement that we
Mm,
send out to everybody. And that is like, hey, we expect you to be on time. We expect this, that, and the other. And it's all based off of our review system. So that's like, that was years before we started doing that depth of organization. But all of that is what you need to be able to run a company um, efficiently, where your overhead is not out of bounds with your revenue. And that happens to a lot of companies. And I speak from experience because it happened to us where we got overhead heavy because we had so many roles doing so many different things. And it's like, you don't, if you have good systems and you have good processes, you don't need so many roles to do that level of revenue.
that's
And that's the thing is when you're smaller, right? You're right. There's people that wear so many hats. It's hard to give just one job description when you're basically doing 10 jobs. And it sucks, but I mean that's the name of the game when you're looking at a small company. I'm not just an estimator, I'm doing everything. So,
Yeah, and
but it
you can
is
still create those job
b-
descriptions though based off of what you
that's what
found
I'm
as
saying.
best
It is
practices.
it's beneficial to have those created, and you can have multiple job descriptions that you're doing. That way when it comes to time to get rid of some of this chaos, you're like, all right, I'm going to start delegating, and this portion is what I'm
Hmm.
delegating.
and that,
And there's some people that ask me, especially lately, they're talking about social media and stuff like that. It's like, I honestly, I haven't even seen that yet because I'm not in charge of it, so I'm gonna have to go check that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, having good job description is something I undervalued for so long, and then we just got better and better at it, um, and decided that regardless of role, there's a certain amount of things you expect, and we expect, I should say, employees to do at our firm, regardless of your role, and a lot of times those are the most important, like being a learner, being a consummate learner.
yeah,
Knowing, being resourceful is another one where, like, if you don't know about a product, get in there, dig into it, find out what it's about and how it's installed, and tag some of your other teammates and find that stuff out. That's resourcefulness. If you were to write a too detailed of a job description, like everything, that thing would be a book, it'd be a job book. And
Sometimes some people need that, and that's where some of the difficulty
that's
and
where your
separation comes
training
in.
well, that's where your training platform should come in if you have one. If you don't have one, create something uh, in Google Sheets, or I'm sure Microsoft has something similar where you can put processes down at least. We've just taken those processes and put them in Talent LMS, which is the training platform that we use. And then we have videos with the ones that need videos. Sometimes it's just a checklist, like an estimator's checklist. Hey, did you check for epoxy grout? The stuff that we from experience would miss. Did you check for epoxy grout? Did you check for waterproofing membrane? Did uncoupling membrane? These types of things. So just a checklist that they can go down and use. But those things, if you put everything in one spot, it won't get consumed well. It's almost like stair stepping into it. So having a good job description sets expectations and job duties for that specific job, and then have a training platform or a training process in some manner to back that up.
And I think the one thing, especially in this conversation, anyways, when we're talking about it, is having that culture in your company, right? And we've talked about EOS in the past, and they get it's huge in there. Whereas, like you said, they say you can't hire for a talent, you have to hire for the culture, because if they don't share the same culture as you, they're never going to work.
Yeah, it's real tough. They can be talented as all get out, but if they don't care about other people, and you got this really, you know, uh, family oriented business, then it can get it can get tough. Um, there's always problems. These are just things that help to kind of uh, limit the issues you have from the problems. But yeah, like the basic organization from the topic, basic organization is like it's one of the things that is the simplest thing to do. It's just not easy at all. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
not even getting into the deeper parts that we were just talking about. It's like file systems and things of that nature. Understanding how to use a computer and have a proper filing system, or even a paper filing system. Anything you can do to organize yourself is going to be that next step. If you're an installer out there and you're subbing, just having a file for receipts that you would code off as what it is, what account it needs to go to, and properly expense that purchase. That by itself is something worthwhile. Um, and baby steps into this stuff, but starting early is something that I can tell you from my side. I think you guys can probably back this up. Starting sooner than later is better. Like going
Yes.
back and trying to create this all at one time was something we ended up doing years and years ago. But it was, we've been in business for 25 years, so like way back when we started doing that, it was still like a grind to get it all done. You know, so if you
Yeah, and that's about the same boat we're in
Yeah.
right now. It's where you have to create this stuff, but you're wearing so many hats and you have so much other stuff to
Yeah.
do.
We just
And
need to
then
hire someone to do it is really
uh
what it amounts to. It just, this is what we have. Help us organize it, get it together. And then it's got to, and with everybody, everyone has got to be able to understand it and utilize it. And I think that's the hardest part. Daniel speaks a different language than I do when it comes to some tech. We just need to make sure that moving forward, it's something that everyone can cipher. It's not too confusing, not not too technical, in a language that is easily recognizable.
yeah, um we ended up having somebody that would sit with each person. We actually did a screen record on a lot of stuff. I was like, if it's something we do every day, just turn on the screen record. And if you don't have a screen record, just put a freaking phone behind you and record your
Oh,
computer when you're doing the thing. Record it, title it in your training platform, how to XYZ, and upload the video. And you can do that in
And
Google Sheets
that's the
as
thing.
well with Google, and then put it in your Google Drive, put the video in Google Drive and put the link in your Google Sheets. How to create a purchase order. Click here, boom, and it plays the video. So you can hack
boom.
through in a very effective, efficient way, um, and record and do the stuff as you're actually producing these stuff. It's turning on a camera, set up the camera behind your computer, and just record yourself doing the work that you're doing. If you want to take that a step further, you can um, just record a whole day and have somebody clip out the parts and name it. Those are two. I personally prefer just turning on my screen record on my computer, recording when I'm doing the thing, and that I'm still doing the thing that I have to do because it's on my shoulders. But if it's something I'm going to be passing on, or somebody else should know how to do if I'm sick or gone or decide to, go on vacation, that they have the access to be able to go to the thing and do the thing. And one of the easiest ways is Google, because everybody, if you have a phone, it's either Google, or I think Microsoft probably
My
does have
cloud.
another one, but you can put
Same.
videos in your Google Drive, put the link to that video in your Google Sheet, and put a title
Yep.
right above it, how to XYZ. Boom. We even have it how to answer the phone. We don't have a receptionist anymore. We have a phone system that does it, but we still have a process for how to answer the phone correctly. Rollins says that
We've been
he
using
has a sign hanging in his office area. 10 things that require zero talent. 1, being on time. 2, making an effort. 3, being high energy. 4, having a positive attitude. 5, being passionate. 6, using good body language. 7, being coachable. 8, doing a little extra. 9, being prepared. 10, having strong work ethic. Yeah,
that's actually, I like that. I like that a lot, Roland.
there's a there there's another deal that Mike Rowe came up with, and it's called I forget what it's called, and we have it. I'm gonna look like a fool because I don't remember the name of it, but it's essentially like things that don't require. It's the in the same vein as Roland just said. It's things that don't require much, right? Like you acknowledge that YouTube is a great place to learn. So if you need to learn something, Google it, find it, see what you can find. Um, but I thought it was pretty funny when he said being prepared is one of our core values, but he also said being passionate. Yeah, there's a saying that, a lot of people want to work in their passion or whatever. And there's a counter saying to that that says, I bring my passion to work with me. And I think that's what
Ah,
Rollins talking about, which is pretty cool.
Right, because
so
that attitude one is huge because that will dictate your entire day. And then when you're working with a team, your attitude is going to
yeah,
reflect others people's attitude. So if you're not, and you're, no one's going to be positive 100% of the time, right? But you have to be able to look at yourself and be like, you know what? I am having a bad day. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just letting you guys know, like right now, this attitude has nothing to do with you guys, but I'm just dealing with some stuff. So I'm sorry if I come off a certain
Yeah.
way. And I think people are just don't communicate that, and it just affects everyone. So positive attitude is huge.
Hmm. Well, and if you got to do it anyway, why not try to do it with a great attitude? Whatever, even if you're having a bad day and you got to continue on, it can just continue to get worse and worse and worse. So positive attitude's great. Rollins a good example of that too, honestly. Kendall says his personal opinion is talking about personal roles from an installer standpoint. He's talking about 3 guys working together and everybody knows their role on his crew is what I got from that, and that it works great for them.
yep.
So knowing that and that's what that setting up a job, when I was talking about being fast and efficient and doing still doing good quality work, that is, man, we'd walk onto a job. I had two helpers. They both knew exactly what to do first, and we always did commercial. So it's like, man, one guy is cleaning out saw joints before the rest of the stuff's out of the truck. He's pulling out his 5-in-1 or his screwdriver and cleaning out saw joints, like automatically starting to get the saw joints prepped. And then we're taking measurements, and then me and another guy are running and going and cutting carpet. And this is back when broadloom was a big thing. And yeah, so that everybody knowing their role and clicking together is important. I agree.
So I
And I think one of the
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say I have a scenario for you on that, right? Like, say the skill set of a crew uh, is very similar, right? And what what issues an individual that role? Is it the hierarchy that's created, or is it the like they're working with the same team all the time? Like, if they can all do the same things, what dictates what role an individual picks up per job? I'm gonna say per project, right? Because typically once you adopt a role on a project, that's your role unless someone gives you additional instructions. But now you go day one or week one is this project, week two you're at another project, but you have a group of people that can do all the same things. Who adopts what role and what dictates that? Um,
Well, we in our hourly crew, I can tell you that we have a lot of guys that used to be what you'd call helpers that have gotten pretty good, and a lot of times those guys are working together on the same job. One guy is always going to be our crew lead and our contact on the project, and that's usually picked by the project manager,
yep.
whoever's assigning it, and it's just like the selection is always made based off of that person who's got the best skill set to run the job. And if we have, I can tell you, like if we have a occupied facility, that may be a different person just because of the way they communicate versus a
Yes.
construction project. Not that one guy's better at cutting seams than the other guy or whatever the skill is. It's the skill of communication that this guy communicates with superintendents and foremen really well, and this guy is just better at talking to doctors, you know, and we'll
And,
flip flop those.
right. And I think, we have talks about this pretty frequently in our meetings because you have a lot of people that, their skill level is growing. So they're like, well, I don't want to do this. I only want to do this. And I said, what you guys need to realize is that, if I go help on a project and someone's already leading it, I don't just step in and say, hey, I'm here now. I'm the lead on this project. I'm like, no, I will go on. I'll get there and everyone's doing something. So, oh, everyone's doing something. Let me go take the trash. Let me go organize some tools. I said, no one is too big for any little
Any
thing that
role,
has
yep.
to be done. If we're all on the same team. But you're right. And we talked about this previously, and it's like sometimes, that second man or second person on that project, sometimes it could be the best installer because no, you're horrible at talking to people. Go do
Yep.
this. Or they're really good at delegating to where, the lead is handling the higher stuff up here, the high level stuff, and then it's like, hey, I'm gonna go be doing all this stuff, making sure we're all good. Can you tell them what to do? So you just have to put people to where their strengths are.
Yeah, that's exactly the way we do it. Just exactly like you said. It's like try to figure out while this guy's going and checking with the superintendent who's sitting in the job trailer, what areas are next and how we're going to attack the area. The second command is like getting the crew to do the things, and he's doing the things that need to be done on that. When you were talking about roles, and like you'll go on a job, or a higher installer go on a job and assume the highest position on that project or something. That's not how we run either. I
Yeah.
look at it like, and building software kind of helped me look at it this way, but I look at it like Like when you're logged into a role on a computer, you can't do any more than that role. And it doesn't matter if you're the president of the United States, if you are logged into that user role, that's all you can do. So if you're logged in as a user versus an admin or a super admin on a piece of software, you're only able to do what that software allow you to do for that role. That's kind of how I operate when I'm doing, because I still project manage some jobs. When I'm acting as a project manager, I have to sit in the scheduling meetings with my guys. I have to schedule right with them on crews and placement. It's not like I just say, I'm the president. We're putting this guy here and that guy there now. I don't act as president when I am a project manager. And so that's also how we try to have our crews act. And it sounds like that's exactly what you were just describing, Daniel.
That's like
Yeah.
the old Nextel commercial, right? Where they put their dots everywhere. And the dude comes in and starts moving. He's like, "Hey, don't agitate my dots." Like he's got them all in systematic order, right? Don't agitate my dots. They're right where they need to be. You come in and do that, you're going to mess the whole system up. And maybe that's the importance. And maybe that's what we're missing too. We're missing. You just explained it in a different manner that I've never really looked at it, Paul. Where you know that you're capable of doing certain roles, but you know that there's a cap on your role when you're in a certain situation.
When you're
And
logged
maybe
into that role.
yeah,
When you check into that role, when you go into the day and you are the warehouse guy, you're the warehouse guy. You don't get
yeah,
to go all of a sudden be something else. The role just doesn't allow it. And so it's kind of role operations. Um, it helps. It seems to help with, our crew gets along really, really well. No matter what configuration we have, one of the guys, I think there's 10 of them, and having them in different, with each other in different jobs based on their skill set. So Jose or Jesus says we need to do a podcast talking about work comp and umbrellas. We did do one. Ashland could probably email you the episode, but I don't know if it was specifically about work comp and umbrellas, but it was on insurance and stuff like that. I remember that.
No, but I think that's something that we
Do
can,
again.
that might be like a webinar thing, no, where it's like get super in depth so people actually understand what they're purchasing.
Yeah, that is certainly part of the webinar series. I mean, insurance is part of legal, and in that business webinar, front to back business webinar, where we're going to be talking about everything from, corporate setup or business setup, whether you're a sole proprietor, an LLC, an S corp, a C corp, or anything in there, and just the pros and cons of each one, and so you can decide which one's best for you. And then talking about work comp and the importance of that, and insurance. I'm not sure if we hit on umbrellas, but that's a funny one because you'll always fight that. We had to go up to an $8 million umbrella for one project and cost us $8,000 for the year. It just kind of depends. We're now right around. We got a lot of contracts that require us to have a $5 million umbrella. That was about 3,800 extra a year from our 2 million, which is typical.
Right. And that's where we're dealing with right now too. It's like all these projects are coming out that they want to have the 5 million. I haven't seen an $8 million one. So talking about just every little bit helps right here with Manny. Ziploc bags to separate everything, all the receipts and stuff. But you can take it a step further and just get a business bank account, and then everything is tracked on your business bank account.
Well, that's true. Although, um, you categorizing it, if it's a separate person, categorizing it into your accounting system. If it's just you, that works great because you'll recognize charges and log them in their appropriate chart of accounts. When you have somebody else doing all your accounting, uh, the way he does it, I mean, my controller would love me to do that. I've got, she has to beat all of us up to make sure she gets her receipts. So, um, you know, there's always a struggle. Kendall says he agrees with you, Daniel, that train do all technical. I do.
Trained to do all
He
the
does all
technical
the.
work.
He goes. I do all uh, the technical work and get things organized. But I have another guy um, that does the taping and tapping,
And talking to
talking
the
to the customer
customer. So,
normally because
You
he's
know,
way
because he,
better
yeah, because he's a
communicator.
way better.
That's
I
cool,
feel
man.
like
That you can recognize that. That's another great um, uh, like trait of a
Kendall is
leader.
not telling the truth right now, you guys, and I'm going to call him out. What he's doing is he's just listing the responsibilities of all of his other personalities. He's not really telling us about a crew. That-
And then Jose says that, you know, just to move to an S corp, or he said, the pros and cons. I'm trying to pull this one up. Pros and cons of a LLC and S corp
Yeah, that'll.
would be great, but that's
It sounds like this
also
dude needs some answers.
something. Well, not really. I think he moved to an S corp, right, where you can do that, and then it depends on how everything is set up, and then you want to also make sure that you need that setup, right? And that's talking to an accountant 100%. They'll let you
Yeah,
know,
that's why on our webinar
yes,
series
you're
we'll
you're
have an
ready to go.
accountant that's going to be presenting the information and giving you the pros and cons. But in short, an LLC is a membership, so you have members. You don't have shares that, so you don't have shareholders. You have members. Um, there's different tax liability things that go into each one of these. I'm most familiar with S corp and C corp, and essentially, but each one of these change. So this is not financial advice. Wait for a webinar series where a actual accountant will be giving you the information. But essentially, on an S corp, the profits of your company, the income from that flow to the shareholders. And so if you own 100% of your S corp, all of the profit and the income flows to you, even though you didn't pay yourself that, and you are liable personally for those taxes. Now, most people
Yep.
have their company pay for the income tax burden there, but again, these are all accounting questions. And then a C corp is the corporation itself is liable um, for the income taxes, whereas an S corp, like if you pay yourself as the owner a W-2, you pay yourself a salary and you keep out taxes on yourself every week. That goes to that overall tax burden. Um, where on your C corp, if you pay yourself a salary, that's your personal income tax, and your corporation owes taxes itself. So it's kind of double taxation on a C corp. But it's absolutely necessary for some companies to be a C corp, and absolutely necessary for some companies to be S corp. And so that's where getting with an accountant or watching our webinar series that's coming up will really benefit you. You'll really understand the difference.
To help you understand. Well, let's get back to the topic at hand about where we're supposed to be at.
The organization, but a lot of this always ends up there, because when you talk
Yeah,
about organizing, then you get into, where does that stop? You're organizing your company, and that's where I think Jose or Jesus was kind of getting to.
right. What?
Right. I mean,
Go ahead, Dave.
there's just different types of
Yeah,
organization, or not different types, but different segments, because you can go all the way down to, like Lanny was saying, organizing receipts,
some of
organizing
the
the van,
receipts.
organizing the tools on a project, organizing the people on that project. It's so much that needs to happen, but one thing is that once you do start getting organized, things do start getting easier.
They do get
Yeah,
easier.
John says he's Mr. Fly by the seat of my pants. And
Yeah,
that's where we want to help John and others to go from fly by the seat of my pants to having a process for each thing or being organized under those items.
And then making sure that your people adopt those processes and understand them too, right? Like I don't think the learning and training part ever really ends because of that.
Never.
You have a vision, you have a process, and no process, no procedure ever really works without the team understanding the process and the procedure. Like they have to
Well,
abide by it. And sometimes it does slow
Daniel
you
would
down.
probably tell you to listen to Simon Sinek. You got to go to the why. They have to understand why they're doing it.
Yeah.
They have to understand that because sometimes the process is longer and harder. We have a guy at one of our offices that didn't quite understand why he had to do something a specific way, and I'm not going to call him out, but it's because downstream somebody else has to pick up the ball. So certain things have to be done for that person downstream to be able
Yep.
to pick up the ball effectively. And if you took your little part of the entire process, it takes you more time. But if you took the whole process and the person picking up the ball later, then it's much more efficient.
And that's where the wearing many
Right.
hats comes into play, right? Like where do you stop and where does your hat start and stop, right? And then who's got to come behind you to they have to understand exactly where you started and where you stopped, so that way they can continue where they're at. Otherwise things get missed. And that's where you know, going back to add on to what Kendall has said about what works for them, right? That works for them too because of the amount of people he's used to working with, and he knows where one person starts and one person stops. They understand that because they're used to it. Now you times his crew times five, and you have to have clear definitions, defining roles, defining starting points, stopping points on labor, as well as the office side. Like, where do you start? Where do you stop? And where you stop has to make sense on somebody else's start. They're going to start at your stop, and where do they stop? Um, yeah, there's
Yeah,
a
that you'll find when you start writing down stuff and you start documenting your processes that you're going to have gaps and you'll always be kind of filling in the gaps.
yes,
But people eventually the process gets pretty doggone clear. I mean, when we get a contract in our office, it everyone knows exactly where that contract, what the next step is. It came through the mail or it came through an email. What's the first thing? All right, it goes to a coordinator to open up a job file in our on our server. Okay, then it goes to Paul to review with the PM and sign the contract. And then it goes like everything's written down in a process. It was the only way for us um, that we found that we could get things to happen when somebody may not be there. And other people could pick up the ball. That doesn't mean that one person has to do that role. The processes are for the role, and then you can plug people in to that role. One thing that I would say is I've seen a lot of people try to write job descriptions or write processes for a person. For this person, this is how they do it. Well, if that's if somebody else can't step in and do it, then you're writing the process for a individual and not for the role. So you want your
right.
processes to be for the role so that anybody can step in and pick up the ball and run with it.
Yeah. Rod says organization and the ability to stay on track is what creates efficient. And then I think he was meant to put systems, maybe.
Efficiency, I think.
Oh, efficiency. But yeah, it's you gotta you just have to start, man. And then things constantly evolve, right? It's not gonna stay the same way.
Yeah,
And that's what people need to
these are
realize.
just like ideas. I
Yeah.
think what you just said is the most important part. Just start. You're going to find stuff that, like, oh, if I do this, then that's going to make my life a little easier, and you're going to do it. Like, you just have to start the process yourself. the first process that has to start is you writing down and documenting your process.
Getting started. Yeah, 100%.
And that's
It's the
the
same
first
thing.
step in organizing anything. Whether you're going to reorganize your office or your room, you got to start it. So, like,
Yeah,
no matter what
and
you do,
you're gonna have surprises. And it's funny is so going into the installation side, right, and working in the field and doing installs, and that's what I realized a couple times is going into the field and helping the guys when we were a little overwhelmed and we just had a lot of work. Is I realized that just getting started for some people is the hardest thing. Like they're going over 20 different ways on how to do something, right? It's like stop talking about it, just get started, right? Like that you have to do this anyway. We're going to go to a job and get started every time. First day on the job, what we got to do? We got to bring the stuff in to do the floors. You got to clean, scrape, demo. Like that's all. Just get started on that. The rest of it's going to start falling into place. But getting started is probably that is the most important thing. You can't get anything
yep.
done when everybody's sitting there leaning on the wall or on a broom talking about if we just get to this point, we'll be good. But nobody's starting the process to get to that point.
Well, that's where writing down the stuff, even like I want to bring up as a last point, like safety processes and being organized around safety. We use what's called Slack. It's just a interoffice communication tool, and we have a installer channel for weekly and daily safety items, and even that was like just getting that put together. Who puts the thing on there? Who makes sure that everybody acknowledges it? Like, even that is a process. It seems easy, but it's actually, probably 10 steps in that thing. Finding the relevant topic, posting it on Slack to the installer channel, making sure that the installers acknowledge it and read it and understand it, and how do you check and I wouldn't say test, but verify that they understand the information, like all of that. So being organized around and remembering safety and all this is important in our field. So keep that in mind. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and thank you for all the comments. If you have not done so yet, give us a subscribe on our socials, follow us, like our stuff, don't like our stuff, whatever. Just interact with us. Let us know if there's any topics in particular. Thank you, Jesus, for those topic suggestions. We really encourage that on the podcast. If you want us to cover a specific topic, type it in the chat. We'll log it, and we'll get that in if we don't already have the topic planned. Again, just a quick shout out to Shag Tools for sponsoring this episode. Remember, Huddle 10 is your promo code when you go and buy stuff from shagtools.com, and that'll get you 10% off of your purchases at Shag Tools. So any last words, my man?
Go ahead, Daniel.
Many small time make big time.
Amen. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for always joining us here. If you want to sponsor us, reach out. Quick, here's some of our sponsors here: NAFCT, Shag Tools, and Divergent Adhesives. Thank you to you guys. You're what makes this happen, and we certainly appreciate our sponsors. And thank you for all the
Yes,
great
sir.
questions and interactions. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, everybody.